Take three, two domestic and one from foreign affairs. First up, ever wondered how the markets reacted to Moody's downgrades of India in the early years of liberalization? Those ratings agencies acted as a Damocles sword on our economy and a geopolitical weapon to control India's march to progress, as also that of the developing world. Now India is hitting back with a rating system of its own. We take a look. Second, has Donald Trump overplayed the tariff card? As he completes 1 year in office as President of the United States during his second term, what lessons we have from the trade data? And finally, a battle of narratives in which we focused on the Nehru in JNU last week takes us to Somnath this episode. How Prime Minister Modi is setting things right, as in from left of center to right of center, as a national mission. Let's get going. More people searched for the Somnath Temple on Google this week than all of the last 20 years. That's the kind of impact Prime Minister Narendra Modi's brainwave of marking 1,000 years of the attack on the temple by Mahmud of Ghazni as Swabhiman Parv, festival of self-respect, had on the masses. The historical site, sacred to a great mass of Hindus, saw repeated attacks and reconstructions over the millennia. And the Swabhiman Parv marked the first major recorded attack in 1026 by Mahmud. Now, nobody denies the historicity of those attacks. After Mahmud destroyed the temple built by the Solanki king Mularaj in 1026 Common Era, there was another round of demolition that Somnath faced at the hands of Alaf Khan, a general of Alauddin Khilji in 1299. Subsequently, Muzaffar Khan, a governor of Gujarat, desecrated the same temple in 1394. Sultan Mahmud Begra in 1459. And then, during the Mughal reign of Aurangzeb, Somnath was ordered demolished thrice in 1669, 1702 and 1706, by which time it was almost turned into a mosque. This repeated destruction should ideally be seen as evidence of the kind of repeated reconstruction that was done by the Hindus over all these years and centuries. But that's where history writing comes into play. Last episode, I narrated how JNU became a left bastion by design and not default. India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, willed the intellectual spaces of India, from university campuses to the bureaucracy to the cultural institutions, to be filled with left-of-center ideologues, thus providing an inexhaustible supply of talent for his socialist governance. A product of that was history writing, which doctored a sanitized past of India, where either no brutal attacks on our civilization, the likes of which Somnath and Nalanda faced, happened, or if those attacks had to be acknowledged, the scale of destruction and their motivation in the iconoclasm of medieval Islam had to be muted. Enter Romila Thapar, a professor emeritus of JNU. Yes, the same JNU we discussed. She is variously described as a celebrated historian or doyen of Indian historians, who as recently as 2023 wrote a book on Somnath. This is what she writes. In 1026, Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni raided the Hindu temple of Somnath. The story of the raid has reverberated in Indian history, but largely during the Raj. It was first depicted as a trauma for the Hindu population, not in India, but in the House of Commons in London. This is according to Thapar. The triumphalist accounts of the event in Turco-Persian chronicles became the main source for most of the 18th century historians. It suited everyone and helped the British to divide and rule the subcontinent. That's what Thapar says. For her, the temple was destroyed by Mahmud in search of a medieval Arab goddess, Manat, and not because he saw in Somnath a symbol of Hindu civilizational pride. She further says in the book that the temple was rebuilt by Kumar Pal as per some Jain chronicles, not because it was destroyed by Mahmud of Ghazni, but because of the corroding effect of the seas, because of which the temple lay in a dilapidated state. Such chicanery of words, and guess what? The likes of Thapar made a lifetime, complete with Padma Awards, out of this intellectual dishonesty, courtesy Nehru's patronage. Pandit Nehru himself was so discomfited by the reconstruction imagined by Sardar Patel, supervised by Kanhaiya Lal Munshi and blessed by the then President Rajendra Prasad, that he wrote as many as 17 letters marking his opposition to the Somnath project. In one cribbing apologia to Liaquat Ali Khan, the then Prime Minister of Pakistan, for example, Panditji protested that Pakistani radio was speaking of doors of the Somnath Temple being brought to India from Afghanistan, while there was no truth to the story. Guess what? Maybe it did not happen immediately after independence. But Romila Thapar, the same protege of Nehru, narrates in her latest book about the episode of the doors brought back from Ghazni to Agra during the British times in the 2023 book. Yes, such charade we have lived through. Or look at this letter that Nehru wrote to the All India Radio instructing the toning down of the coverage of the consecration event in 1951 that Rajendra Babu attended despite protests by the Prime Minister. Or these two letters written by Nehru to the chief ministers, dated May 2 and August 1, 1951, in which he hems and haws, literally, about the bad image of India the presence of his ministers would create abroad by being present there at the consecration ceremony of Somnath Temple. Guess what? Nehru did not want to get the optics wrong then, just as Modi did not want to get the optics wrong now. Only the audiences are different. For Nehru, the audience was the Islamic world in West Asia and the Muslim population back home. For Modi, the audience is Hindu and at home. Irony is that Modi has been bestowed the highest civilian honors by at least a dozen Islamic nations, including Saudi Arabia, the custodian of the two holy mosques of Islam. The fact is, they care two hoots about India's internal politics so long as principles of natural justice and good governance are followed. They would not have cared then also, in Nehru's times. Just that it was only in Nehru's mind that the reconstruction of Somnath conflated with secularism and not reclamation of India's civilizational pride. Modi has corrected that wrong. That takes us to another wrong Prime Minister Modi is correcting, subtly